The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
Show, man. Congratulations to you, and congratulations on your retirement.
Well, thank you. And we made everybody wait 28 extra minutes just to keep you in suspense, but hey, that's life. Listen, it is our 500th show. We're at the Irish Rover Station House, which has been our sponsor, I think about the last 8 years, minus pandemic. That's a whole other thing. We have a nice little crowd. We also have giveaway items. And people who are here have been given tickets. We will draw those tickets a little before 3 p.m. And you'll have your choice of a couple of different great prizes from Kona. There's a terrific little pack of all sorts of goodies. And another Kona alternative. And the Joe Watson book, Thundermouth. Joe Watson is here with us. And he'll be joining us on camera very shortly. Can we hear it for Joe Watson 2 times down?
Bill? And along with that, we have 2 other fantastic guests to go with Joe. The voice of the Flyers, Jim Jackson, is here. The longtime PA legend, Lou Nolan, is in the house.
Joining us on camera along with Joe in just a few minutes. But we have JJ first. What are we going to talk about, Bill?
There's a lot of Flyers things going on. So it's lots of Flyers. We're going to talk to JJ as well.
All right, we're going to very briefly on the Phillies because we got some big Flyers news. Phillies 51-26 after the win today. They're on pace for I think 106 wins. How good is this team?
They're great, but I tell you right now, baseball now with as many teams make the playoffs. See some of these others the Flyers. Yeah, the Flyers. Actually, the Phillies have done a great job the last 2 years of taking advantage of the system because they obviously didn't win the division, but then went on and won. So you just hope it's not the other way around this time because they're going to be the hunting team. They are Philly, in my mind, the best team in the National League. I mean, the Dodgers might be up there with them, but the Dodgers with some serious injuries. So I think the Phillies are the team to beat in the NL right now.
Absolutely. Hey, we got to talk Flyers. We can't talk too much Phillies here. We'll come back to them. But a lot of news breaking today. Maybe it's coming out of Russia. We're hearing that Markov is going to break his Russian. Mishkov. Going to break his Russian contract, and he's going to be a Flyer. What do you think?
Most of the insiders are saying it. Obviously, no confirmation from either the KHL or the Flyers as yet, but a lot of smoke there. So, and of course, there's been rumblings of it here over the last month or so. It's really exciting. He's an extremely talented player, obviously very young, but automatically makes the Flyers' power play better. He's raw. He's going to need to improve his all-around game for sure. He needs to get bigger. He's not a big guy, but if you've seen any of the highlights of him this year, guys, he is a highlight machine. So, very exciting player. The Flyers fans have every reason to be excited. And now we get to see what impact, if this indeed does happen, what impact that has on how the Flyers approach the rebuild. Does it intensify it? Or because he's still a teenager, maybe it doesn't. But bottom line is they have another talented player in tow, it appears, in Matt Mitchkov. It'll be fun to watch it.
Does he fit right into the first line, or does he play the power play, or do we have to wait and see?
Well, he may be on the first line. First, Joe will tell you, the first line, first game of the season, he might be on the fourth line by the third game of the season. The lines change so much now. He's obviously going to play the power play at times, but John Tortorella clearly said you have to earn your time. We know with John Tortorella coach teams, you have to earn your spots. That doesn't mean just by scoring goals, he has to play well all around games. So we'll see where he fits in. But it gives him another weapon. They need some help on the right side. He has played a little center, but I don't think they look at him as a center. Just a dynamic offensive player, and you can't win in the NHL now without them. And so it's great that the Flyers had them. And they made a savvy play. A lot of teams stayed away from this job because they're afraid of the 3-year wait and maybe beyond with the uncertainty geopolitically, with Russia and all that. And now apparently, not confirmed, but apparently now there's only 1 year wait, and it's kind of 2 weeks. So that thing last year looking better and better. For Flyers fans who don't know anything about the thing, is for somebody that you could say this guy reminds you of at this young age? Well, for me, the world started seeing things and all the problems watching, and then the word contract through the contract. Well, this is bad was not just the Connor Bedard draft. Michkov. That's how good he is. Connor Bedard is considered a generational player. Well, Michkov is kind of that too. He kind of faded away because of all the questions about Russia, would he be able to come over, all that. But as a player, just a pure talent. So he's a great player. Tom is hard. I really want to see him a little bit more. I don't want to see clips. I haven't even seen a full game. So he's not a huge guy, weighs 175 pounds maybe right now, about 5'10", but dynamic. He's not even the fastest skater out there. He's not slow by any stretch, but he's not Connor McDavid on skates, but he's just unbelievably creative. His creativity off the charts, sees the ice well. He can be a playmaker or a scorer. Either way, he can do both. So obviously the Flyers power play has been a major problem the last 2 or 3 years. This really gives them that weapon that you have to have in the well.
Hey, while we're talking hockey, something very interesting. The Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers are suddenly going to a Game 7. Who would have thought that when it was 3-0 Florida? Game 7, Monday night. There's nothing like Stanley Cup playoff action and a Game 7. What do you think? How's this going to play out?
It's unbelievable to watch the series and how it's turned around. To me, it feels like it's McDavid's time. He wasn't really a big factor in Game 6, but he was the biggest factor in Game 5, and also a 4-point game. He was 4. He's going to the guys, but probably no matter who wins the game tomorrow night. Although Barkov has a great game, maybe he could win it, but it almost feels like this is his time, and now they're going to do it in historic fashion if they win it. Second team ever to come from 3-0 down to the finals. Only the 5th time team ever. Of course, the Flyers, one of those 5 teams back to 2010, to come from down in a series 3-0. Selfishly, I kind of root against other teams doing it. I want the Flyers to be 1-4 and keep it that way and make it that much more exclusive. But as time goes on, other teams can do it. But this happening in the finals is quite amazing. Personally, I'd like to see Bobrovsky win a Stanley Cup. I love Bob. One of my favorite players to cover. Lou knows, Joe knows what a great kid he is. Not a kid anymore, but when he was here in Philadelphia, he was a kid. Works so hard, very polite. Just a great person. And I would love to have seen him win the cup, and still can't, obviously. But I would favor Edmonton. They have really dominated the last 3 games.
Yeah, that momentum has gotten crazy for Edmonton. And, that building was about to come apart there.
It was. And they're going to have a great atmosphere in Florida. But I just don't know if Florida can turn this thing around. I don't believe too much in momentum in any playoff series, but this isn't just a little momentum. This is a steamroller. Now, hockey's funny. I mean, Florida gets that first goal tomorrow. All of a sudden now it's the Oilers who are, came this far. We can't let this slip away now. And the pressure kind of shifts to them. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, I think there's slight favors at Florida to win the game tomorrow, maybe just based on home ice. But my gut tells me it's Edmonton stop.
Hey, before we bring Lou and Joe up here, first of all, I want to mention to everybody who's here, please pick yourself up a copy of Joe Watson's book, Thunder and Lightning. I did something I never did before in my life last night. I sat on the couch and read a book for 4 hours straight. Can you believe that? I can't put it down. Right here. Joe Watson, Thunder Mouth. It is terrific. I highly recommend it. This guy from Smithers, British Columbia, is that what it is?
Yes.
Western Canada, telling you his story about growing up out there and joining the Flyers after playing Bobby Orr and Bruins briefly. It's a great read. I highly do recommend it. Pick it up. It's here at the Irish Rover. Stop and say hello. Get a copy of the book from Joe. An autograph, maybe a picture, what else? Joe's going to be joining us on camera in just a bit, along with Lou Nolan. But before we do that, I have one thing I want to mention with Jim Jackson. Jim, I love when you're on Preston and Steve on WMMR occasionally.
Yeah.
And this is bizarre. When they have you on, they always ask you to do this goofy little thing, say something bizarre during the broadcast that makes no sense whatsoever. Give me some examples of like the weirdest thing they've asked you to do.
They're all weird. It was easy. It was kerfuffle, which, any scrum on the ice, kerfuffle. I use that now. But one of them, the toughest one, there's two that come to mind. One was take a spin on the baby. So I'll get that phrase in my game. So I waited for a player to do a spin move. And thankfully, it was actually somebody on the other team, the Blues, who did it for me. And I threw that. The other one was, it was some inside joke. One of the crew members, Kathy, and it was Kathy's mustache. I can get Kathy's mustache phrase, and I can't remember how I did it. I had something to do with a guy who had a mustache, and that's not Kathy's mustache. It's pretty mustache. You got to find ways to do it.
I love that.
And Keith Jones and Brian Boucher, and when it was both Glenn or Scotty Howard, whoever I'm working for, they have to be in on it to kind of help me along. We always figure out a way to do it. It's fun. They're great. It's always great going out with those guys. And the feedback we get from it is amazing.
JJ, we talked a little bit before we were getting our difficulties straightened out. We've been at this thing for many years.
Not as long as Lou, but
I don't think fans realize that you've been with the Flyers for this good time. It's gone by so fast. 30 plus.
32 years. This will be my 32nd year. Technically 31st season because we lost the season to a lockout. But
Wow, 2 hours.
yeah, that's not. I can't even. That's hard to wrap my arms around that. But yeah, it was 1993 when I came down and did 2 years of radio, and then this will be my 30th year, I guess, officially on television. But feels like yesterday. It's where the time goes. I kind of know I have benchmarks. I call my kids. We're now 24 and 27, I had them both here. But it's like, wow, where does the time go? It doesn't seem that long. So when I got here in 93, it had already been almost like 20 years since they won the Cup. People say it's been too long. Well, now we just passed the 50th anniversary of the first Cup. That means next year we pass the 50th anniversary of the last Cup. We got to get back to having that Cup going down the stretch. So,
how many times have you practiced the Flyers management?
Because I won't call it. I won't make it go. Yeah, the national networks coming. So Tim Saunders will be the lucky one to get that call. I hope Tim Saunders does get a chance to make that goal because that's really wrong. And before we want to see that before I retire, I want to be involved with the team. Instead of knowledge that parade, I was lucky enough to be one with the Phillies. And I'm not a big parade guy, but how many Rovers was a long time broadcast for the Mets. I've been with the Islanders too. And before the Phillies parade, he called me and said, your life's never gonna be the same. I go, I appreciate you saying that, but I'm not a big parade guy. He said, you will be. And he was right. And I was on the float with Harry and Callis, and just to hear the chants of Harry just reverberating on the buildings and see Harry so moved by it was enough. But just the wow, so much discourse in our society today. Was parades. It was just outright love fans, and it was something I'll never forget. But I want one more, and I want it to be with the Flyers. So that's my goal here before it's all.
All right, we have Lou Nolan, Joe Watson, and right here Jim Jackson with us for another 25 to 30 minutes.
These are two guys who were in the Flyer parades.
That's right. Some of the legends. So we're going to ask Lou and Joe to come up here, and they're going to sit right here. I'm going to stand.
You're going to go.
You got the Bill and Chet.
Yeah, chicken fingers coach.
All right, so we are at the Irish Rover in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. They have all sorts of specials today. They have beer specials, soda. They got a whiskey special too. If you like whiskey, come by. You have to keep the glass also. And we're going to do some giveaways within the next 20 minutes or so, just before 3 o'clock. We will pull 3 different tickets, and people are going to win some. We got $10 Philly Pressbox Radio shirts over here. I'm going to throw one or two out to the crowd too. So if you want a Philly Pressbox Radio shirt, just let us know. We'll hook you up if we can. Irish Rover Station House, Bill PPA. Lou Nolan, come up here. Jim Watson, come up here. JJ. Jim Jackson, guys. I got no smoke, sure. Take over, Bill.
Shout boy, Jimmy. We'll do it. Yeah, boss. You put over it again.
Behind the Irish signals.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, yes, you. Well, here's 6 8 the chair. You guys, I think the chair.
Well, it doesn't get any better than this right here. 2-time Stanley Cup champion Jim Watson. 5-time legendary is in flying.
Wonderful. I this area that often. I live in the area. It's a nice job. It's a nice bar, and you can see why they're successful. Like a lot of good people that work here. Of course, there's a radio show here, and so it's fine. I'm glad we're here.
As I am, and I'd like to congratulate Bill and Chet on their 500th. God help each other. Incredible. And you guys deserve it. You do a great job because Joe and I are happy to be here with you. It's an honor to be on this show.
Appreciate it. Hey, we've been talking about Joe's book, Thundermount, which is awesome. Lou wrote a book about 7 years ago with our buddy Sam Clarchini. If These Walls Could Talk, Philadelphia Flyers. That book is available on Amazon. It is a great read. It's like a bunch of different chapters, all about different things in the Flyers history. I highly recommend that. Lou Nolan, If These Walls Could Talk, Philadelphia Flyers. Lou, you went to Flyers right from the start, is that right? And then PA announcer for 52 years?
Yes, I began 67 when Joe showed up. I defensive with the team, and did some work in the press box, and then said, geez, I'm missing most of the game. I should be announcing, and I got that job, and the rest is history. I just keep going and going and going and having fun. Do Stanley Cup parades, took the cup to work. I've had a good time. I've had a really great time, and nothing better than hockey. I tell you, ice hockey is wonderful. It's been good to me.
Joe, you wrote this wonderful book. What makes you think, hey, this has been a really cool run?
We went to Russia. We were in Russia for 6 years ago, and we brought Bill Milford, a reporter from Dallas, and they worked for the Flyers. And he came the trip, and while we were over there, he was writing stories, sending stories back to America, which I wasn't aware of, and I don't think any of our players were, but he was writing these stories, and he was getting a big response about our Broad Street Bullies being over in Russia there, and so I said to myself, and my wife Jamie always said, you should do this book. Well, you get a lot of great stories. You go back a long ways. And so I said, okay. So about a year later, I talked to Bill one day. I said, Bill, I want to do a book. He said, you should do a book. We have so many great stories. And I said, okay. We started the book, and it took us 2.5, almost 3 years to complete it. And we've had a lot of success with it. We've over 4,000 copies so far, and we sent books to Australia, New Zealand, Holland, England, Budapest, Hungary, and of course America and Canada. So there are hockey fans out there, and they're reading their hockey fans because of the internet. I mean, people in like Australia. How the hell they're going to get a book? How would they find out about a book that's in Philadelphia? But they did find the internet, and so we've had a lot of success with it. And well, we're working hard at it. doing well with it. Thanks.
Great. Hey, Joe, I read most of it last night, as I mentioned, and there's so many questions related to that. One thing was, you were talking about when you were playing hockey as a kid, sometimes you didn't always have a puck available. So when you didn't have a puck, what would you use instead?
Well, you know what? Where I come from, the winter was cold, and we couldn't afford a puck, so we used a horse turd for a puck. Horse turd for a puck. Christmas board Jim had, so Eaton's catalog would come out every Christmas. And I'd get one of the Eaton catalog and put it around my leg and both my legs, and they were my shin pads, and that's just the way it was because pucks were only maybe 10 cents at the time, but I didn't have 10 cents to buy a puck, so that's what we used for. And I'll say they hurt sometimes. They're pretty hard.
There's one follow-up question tonight, Joe. Page 191 of your book is a picture of you and Jimmy and your dad. That I've seen from many times over the years. It's a classic. It's a classic picture.
My dad, so we won our second cup. And Dad wants to take the train all the way back to Smithers, British Columbia. 8 days from the train or something. But anyway, so I dropped him off at 30th Street Station, just thinking, okay, he had an hour to wait for the train. And Dad had a mouth organ. He loved to do the Irish jigs. So he was at 30th Street Station. He started out doing these Irish jigs. He had all these people on the train station out there jigging with him and everything else. And so a guy phoned me, he says, I just saw your dad. I said, oh yeah, I dropped him off. And he says, well, he had the whole audience at 30th Street Station. They were doing these jigs with him, and he was singing and playing the mouth organ. So that's one of many stories of my dad, my father, Jimmy and I, of my dad. And he's a real character.
Hey, Lou, I want to ask you, you've been there, like I said, from the beginning, and then you saw the growth of the Flyers from 67 to 74, 75, the 2 cups. How did you get to know Joe, and what were your first impressions of Joe, and how has that changed or not over the years, Joe Watson?
Well, before I met him, I heard him. Listen, yes, you can hear the best thing. He was the guy that had a lot to say on the bench and all good stuff. And that's how I first got to know him. And then I was traveling a few games early on, and then I get a chance maybe to sit down with him and say hello and whatever. And just a quality guy all around. And incidentally, met his dad, who was a big man, boy. I remember that picture with you and me, Jim, I guess, at the Stanley Cup, and he looked like a lumberjack with a big beard.
Well, Dad worked in lumber mills in the wintertime, and he sold meat in the summertime. So you work a lumber mill, by gosh, I mean, it's cold, 20, 30 below zero. These guys out there plugging this lumber up and everything else, and oh boy. And it was a tough job. And then the summertime, Dad would butcher cows and horses, and he'd sell the horse meat for cyanide poisoning to kill the grizzly bears, the wolves up there, where we were from, because they were killing a lot of cattle. With cyanide poisoning and kill the grizzly bears and the wolves and everything else. Yeah, wow, yeah.
I'll follow up on this regarding your dad. In your book, you chronicle how in 1974, during the playoffs, he drove from Western Canada to Philadelphia. Is that right?
No. We had some brothers, but no. My dad drove to an airline strike in Canada. My dad drove to Seattle and hopped on a plane and flew to Philadelphia.
Okay.
Unbeknownst, we had no idea my dad was coming. And I get a phone call in the dressing room, and Frank Lewis, our trainer, he came. He said, "Joe, your dad's on the phone." I said, "What?" He's calling him. Wish us good luck. Well, Dad shows up, Philadelphia airport. He has no money in his pocket. His suitcase with a big block with a rope around his shoulder, and he had overalls on. It was for inches of hell in Philadelphia.
And he had a stomach, he said.
And come down the dressing room, and I said, "Dad, you smell, you gotta get in the shower. The shower will clothes on, we go running in the shower like the gal in the court scene. And he goes in there and all the guys are in there showering. Yeah, the shower. No, when he comes out and he puts the same clothes on, that's all he had. Her suitcase with a block of rope around her shoulder. And, but Dad was a character. He was.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. It was in the room to shower.
With a select, I'll call it a select collection of hockey sticks. Right? You don't get just anybody. Some of those sticks that you have, and anybody that you still want to get.
Well, there's always people you want to get, but it's harder and harder to get the sticks because they're keeping them. But, like to get a McDavid stick, I'd have to really figure that out. My favorite stick is a Steve Eisman, and they used to, I work with athletics, so the guys would come over and talk to me about getting assists for their teammates. And where to go, hey, it's not so fast. I'd call up, I'd call back and get it done. And I was in there one day, he was in the penalty box one day for something. And I said, hey, can you chip a stick? Stick it for me, here it is. I said, fine. No, it was a Louisville, it was a really thin stick. So afterwards, I called him to use the first stars for the half trip. He came all the way across the ice and handed me the stick and was using it. So I took it up with that guy's son. Later on, when he was in the tape file, I took it in and to get it re-signed because it was sort of faded. And the guy couldn't believe it was like something. He said, whoa, what is that? And I said, it's your general manager's. And rounded sort of. And they were either young or they weren't. I suspect he used to quote Joe.
Well, you know what? I for Wilson's and they gave me a 3-year contract to wear all their equipment. So I had to wear their pads. I used the sticks, gloves, and all this other stuff. So that works out well for myself. But equipment they make today is so different than it was when we played. It's so light. Everything is so light and light. They have great balance. Of course, their balance is better than it was when we played because they do all these drills. Drills galore, and I'm glad. The only reason I'd like to play this guy down here right now with all the money these guys get. There were 96 players in the leagues. Combination of all 96 players. We never made $3.5 million amongst 96 players. Gordie Howe was the highest paid player that year in 1966. I broke in. He was making $48,000.
You did money those days. Yeah, not anymore.
So you say you've been around for a long time. You started out with Bobby Orr, you told us that Bobby Clark, obviously you played with, you played against the Gordie Howes and all that. You have a list of best players.
Best players? I think Orr. To me, Orr revolutionized the game of hockey and defense. There was only one guy that ever scored 20 goals in his life in the defense, and that was Red Kelly for Detroit. And when Orr came along, he just changed the whole game. I mean, revolutionized and changed it. He kind of was a roving player out there. He can get up the ice and get back as quick as he got up the ice. I mean, he was so fast. And I met him in 1965 in London, Ontario, training camp. And 135, maybe 135 to 140 pounds. That's all he was. So he breaks training camp. I couldn't believe he was a hockey player. Breaks training camp, and he goes home and gets a rowing machine. He buys a rowing machine. He put on 55 a month. So he comes to camp next year. I couldn't believe the same guy. And so him and I got to be pretty close. In fact, we're the only two single guys in the team in Boston, 66. So we lived together. We had a 5-bedroom home out there in a place called Little Nahat, and we had a great time. And he was a cook. What's a good cook? I was a housekeeper. I had to do the dishes, back in the place. But it was a lot of fun with him. And we're still good friends today. I talk to him periodically, and he helped me. He did the forward of my book. And I remember the Bostonians were in here for a game here about 3 months ago. They played the Flyers. And all these Bostonians overlooked the book, and all of a sudden they saw that he did the forward. They were buying the book left and it was great.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to ask Joe one other question in a second. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask Mike to come over here.
Sure.
And in 1 minute, Mike is going to pull our 3 winning ticket numbers. So you get your choice of the book, Thundermount, or one of the 2 great Kona prizes. I want to ask Joe this question, though. In your book, you said about Freddie Sherrill, the legendary Flyers coach who won the 2 championships with you guys. He saved your career. How so?
Well, a year there was a year that I went to Europe. I went to Europe for 6 weeks. Didn't take care of myself. I came to camp out of shape. I slowly almost yodel, but every day after practice. And I didn't take care of myself. But Bertie said, "No, I'm going to make you a hockey player." And so he took good care of me, and he worked with me. I worked with Barry Ashe. Barry Ashe is one of our defensemen who lost.
Yeah.
And so I worked with him closely, and made me a better hockey player. I'm pretty sure that really kind of saved my career. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have a follow up to that too. Around these parts, Marty Barat gets
Accolades.
just accolades. Right. Tell us about Joe Watson, his Van Imp as the veterans, and Bruce DuPont, the Barry Ashe, Bruce DuPont kind of in the middle, and then Jimmy and Tom Blayton as the kids. That was a heck of a group.
Yeah, you know what? I remember they drafted my brother in 1972, and I was shocked that they drafted him. There was a strike in Canada, and I wasn't aware that they drafted my brother. And when they drafted him, I told my brother, "I'm going to represent you. I'll be your agent." And so I represented him. And when I signed, I got him a 3-year contract. He was making more money than I was. I've been playing for 4 years, but my contract was up. So then, of course, I quartered my contract and got it straight away. But yeah, the first year he was making more money than I was. So I thought I did a very admirable job for my brother. And then Ed Van Imp, Andre Dupont, tough guys. And you have that physicality when you're playing defense. And those guys, man, they would stick you left and right. And oh my God, to feel bad for the other team because Eddie would stick right in your gut, and Lou would do the same damn thing. And some of my friends played in opposing teams, and I would talk to them. Can't have a welt here or a welt there. Oh boy, he was vicious. Eddie was vicious, and so was Lou. And then, of course, Tommy Blayden. We had the best draft they ever had was 1972 when they drafted Billy Barber, Bob Blayden, Jim Watson, Al McAdams, and a goalie, Mike Bellemere. Best draft the Flyers ever had was 1972.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Those guys all did pretty well. Hey, I have one final question for you, but first, Mike, come on over here, watch your step. Mike from the Irish Rover Station House is going to pull 3 different tickets for the people that are here, and you will get your choice of one of the great prizes from Kona. We appreciate those from Kona, or Thundermount, Joe Watson's book. So, Mike, pick number 1 first of all.
All right. The first number is 255-3664.
3664. Do we have a winner?
You have to be here to win.
What a left.
3664. You left and didn't give your ticket to somebody else? Come on, shame on you. Anybody? 3664.
Going once, going twice.
Tally ho, let's go.
No?
No, yes.
Yep. I'll check.
I'll take it.
That's 4 numbers. Yeah.
Yep.
3710.
3710. This lady's making today. T-shirts and how
You know what? He runs the Flyers Club, and that's the reason Pat Thomas accepted because that young lady really is. She does a great job.
He's going to pick out one of the 3 items. He's got a book right now. All right, second winning ticket. Thank you.
3657.
3657.
You have that number for clear. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff. Another winner. You got the Joe Watson book for that holder.
Jeff, what happens when you go home and the wife says, "Where did you get that?" You have to say the bar.
Hey, you're at church today.
So this one's for the what?
This one's up.
Winner of the Joe Watson game. Thunder now.
3718.
3718. So there's still a chance.
3718. Oh, somebody's standing up.
There you go.
You know what?
I don't know what's in that bag.
And here's the book right here, and Joe will sign for you just a minute if you want. One more. Well, one more for me. All right. Pressbox Radio T-shirt, your choice.
3720.
3720. 3720. That's it. There you go. Someone in the back corner.
Back.
Pick a T-shirt out of T-shirt. Pick it out. Just pick it out. We trust you. Pick out your T-shirt. All right. Now. Yes, you may. Every time.
We only have triple X.
That's not true. Lou and Joe, I have a very important question for you. WIP recently, about a week and a half ago, was doing several days on Mount Rushmore's of Philadelphia sports. Okay? And they got to the Flyers, and 2 of them are easy, let's face it, okay? Bob Clark and Bernie Perrant are going to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore, Flyers hockey. So the question is, who are the other 2 faces on a Flyers Mount Rushmore? Lou, I'm going to go to you first. Who is it? It can't be Lou Nolan. Well, it could be. Lou Nolan, Dave Poulin, and Tim Kerr. Why Dave Poulin and Tim Kerr? Because Poulin wasn't like a superstar.
One of the best captains ever. And Poulin was a great guy. And he and Kerr both been healthy in Edmonton. We'd have won another Stanley Cup. But they weren't. So they were out. We were beat. So they're my 2.
Joe, how about you? Who else joining?
Periodic things. So I'm going to take the rifle, and take Billy Barber.
And I had heard about Big Bill Barber's right third. Oh, somebody else asked on our YouTube page, Joe, did you get to Colorado after the Flyers? And was that a culture shock?
Yeah, you know what? The end of the year in '78, you have your meeting with the coach and the general manager, and you're going over the season and everything else. And Keith Allen said, "Joe, we want to start breaking some young guys." And I said, "Well, what are you saying to me?" He said, "Well, we want you to stay around and help play maybe 35, 40 games, help some of our young defensive development." I said, "Keith, I'm only 36. I want to play." I said, "Well, you want to play, you got to go to Colorado. We're going to trade." I said, "Fine." So they asked me where I wanted to go, and I said, "Well, Colorado would be a good spot. I like to ski and everything." That wasn't very good, but anyway, I like to ski, and so I go to Colorado. I'm there. They had a young team, and they made me the captain of the team. So I was the captain of the team. It's really ironic. I played my very last game, full game, against the Flyers in Colorado on a Friday night, and we tied 2-2. And then the next day we had to go play in St. Louis. And the second period, the 2-minute mark of the second period, I go back to the zone for a puck, and one of the St. Louis players pushing my lower back. and I exploded into the boards. I broke my right leg in 13 places. It ended my hockey career. What a play! My bone had penetrated the skin and out like that. And so I had 9 operations on the right leg, but I'm as good as new now. So I feel real good.
And how much for that? You played in the game?
Yeah, I played in
Recently.
Yeah.
Middleton, his last game. We'll see this year.
That's what money. I got the helmet on it. But I'm not taking this off. That's all clear. Hey, I went work for 3 periods and I sweated.
I don't usually talk about people's ages, but Joe is going to be 81 years old in 2 weeks. And he's sharper than me. He shouldn't say a whole lot.
Hey, Joe, 38 career goals. One stick out. Which gets the most memorable?
Oh, come on.
Aaron Watson goals.
Thanks for giving me that one.
I wonder what they could be.
But we played in 1976.
Yeah.
The Russians were the most dominating team. We're the most dominating team in North America at the time. And so the Russians are beating, they beat Boston, they beat the Rangers, they tied Montreal, Soviet Red Army team. And so it came down to a Sunday afternoon. So Saturday afternoon, we have a practice at the building. And the Russians practiced first, and then we were going to go on second. Well, we watched the Russians practice. Right there all over Hell's Half Acre. I said, we can't do what they're doing. We're not going to go. Well, we're going to go up there. But Bertie said, we're not having a practice. You go up there and fool around and anything else. And the Russians stood there trying to watch us practice. We was doing anything but having a good time. Freddie divides and just beat the Russians. Nobody can beat the Russians. And Freddie divides and said, this is what we're going to do. And it worked to a T. But anyway, we were in the second period, a shorthanded situation. And anyway, the Russians had a power play on, and they were taking their line. They were taking their time getting off the line. So I said, well, I'm going to daughter off the ice with Kitterchuk and Selesky. And so anyway, Selesky takes the shot, and Tretiak makes a save, and he kept it low, and the puck kind of squirted out about 10 feet in front of the net. I have to sneak in there and tuck it in between his legs. And I proved one thing: white man can't jump.
What did Freddie say? It's true.
So anyway, after the game, Coach Sherrill says, he says, congratulating everything else. He said, Joe, by scoring that short-handed goal, you're going to set the Russian program back 20 years. And you know what? They still haven't recovered for yeah. For that. Gene Hart, you know Gene Hart? He was a world traveler. He went to Russia with his family in 1993. And he was there in Moscow for 4 or 5 days. He decides to go to Siberia and took a 4-day train ride up to Siberia. And they're walking around. They see this old prison. They see these guys with balls and chains. And he goes to the prison guard and he says, how come those guys are balls and chains? Or the Russian guard says, they were on the ice when Joe Watson started throwing it. You don't want to be on the ice.
That's a great story.
You, Joe, one of you guys, Lou, you've been doing the PA, as we said, for 52 years. You got to keep on going?
Yes.
Good job. We're going to see Mishkop on the Pico power play.
That's a good idea.
Very good idea. So I want to ask you, talk a little earlier about kind of doing the entertainment. It's like the entertainment part of it. What's it like to have a stadium, sold out stadium, and you are the entertainer?
Well, I've sort of forgotten about it lately because I haven't been the energy. I've been the energy where yeah. Now the whole team has been the energy. People are enjoying watching them. And they said that the team is good fun, and
the key is, you put a good product and do well. But there are times when it was pretty dismal. And I don't know, I was the entertainment, but once in a while when we scored a goal, people were happy. There weren't many times back in those days. But I enjoyed doing the Pico power play. It started like the Flyers are going to the Pico power play. And I got in my ear, not enough juice, more juice. So it built up and built up and built up, and now it's got its own life. People, I say it, they work with me in the stands, they say it. There's even a little button, like that button, that easy button. Yeah, there's one of those. You hit it, and it says Flyers are going to the Pico power play. So,
Hey, it didn't sound like that. How does it sound, Lou?
and the Flyers are going on.
Everybody I can get it.
Eventually, you will work it. Anything for you, John. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Hey, have a favorite?
Yeah. Not very much cost.
Today, favorite name.
I always like Simone Gagne. I always like doing that one. But the message we're here was Vyacheslav Sodolukin. Oh, boy, got a Boilovich. That's a mouthful. They've been a mouthful, and what's amazing is that sometimes they sneak one in on you. So before the game, you got to go find PR people or their broadcasters to find out how to pronounce something. Jimmy's done that many times, I'm sure.
And then they change their names.
The players decide they want it done a different way. Who was that that's done that a number of times?
Right, Marchand.
Yeah, Marchand. He's Shand now, right? Marchand. And he's the one that's playing now, but there have been several of them that, they say my name wrong. I had a guy one time, preseason, playing the Jersey Devils. They get this big blonde-haired defenseman. His first name, Cale. So I called him Cali. And he looked at me, pardon my French here now. Can I say something?
You bet.
And he said, hey, asshole. I don't care. I said, well, courtesy here. I mean, but I never again, that the rest of that game, he was only in for one game. He got 2 more penalties. He was always Cali. He was Cali forever. Some respect, Yeah.
You've already kept these guys longer than we told them we would. Joe is a busy guy. In addition to being here with us today, he's got a Flyers alumni thing tonight and tomorrow. Joe, what's going on? Tell us.
We have our alumni tournament at DuPont Country Club. We've had there for about 7, 8 years now, and it's sold out. We get 55 fights. So we have players coming in from all over from Europe and North America that are going to be participating in the tournament. And we have an alumni with each one of the fights. So we have a function night down there at the Well Carter Center for our alumni guys. Get to hang around with them, sign books, and so it should be a nice evening, a nice day tomorrow.
And you guys both are very involved in the Flyer alumni. Anything else besides that? How about it different?
Oh, we should mention Joe was heavily involved in starting the Alumni Association back in 1984. First, it's two alumni games, and it's taken off from there.
Oh, you know what? I can start the hockey team. That's all we did, play hockey. And over the course of the years, the 30-some years we had the team, we probably gave away $3.5 to $4 million in cash to charity. The charity.
I particularly enjoy the Every Kid Should Have a Bike program, where they give bicycles out now to children who are suffering from maladies, and they can't drive a regular bike, so they get like custom made for the individuals. And some of the smiles. I remember the golf tournament last year. A kid rode the bike right through the thing before we were registering up, and just with the biggest smile on her face, it was terrific. So that's something I don't feel.
I have one final question for both of you. You can one at a time, or however you want to answer it. Tell us about the whole Ed Snyder effect and how that has.
That's Mr. Snyder to you.
Story like that.
we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here today. This had to happen. In February of 1968, there's a hole that was created in the spectrum, and we couldn't play our last 22 games in a row. We were playing all our games in a row, and we had no income coming in. No income whatsoever. Mr. Schneider went to 5 different banks to get $2 million to keep this franchise going. And he went to 5 different banks, and the last bank, the Gerard Trust, a guy named Bill Baird. He was a Harvard grad. He was in charge of the lonely parts of this bank. He played hockey, and they have seen Dick over the Flyers. And Mr. Schneider said, if I don't get $2 million in my account tomorrow, I'm going to have to sell the franchise. Well, lo and behold, he got up at 9 o'clock in the morning, went to the bank, there's $2 million there, and the rest is history. And there's the guy, when he retired, he started Snyder Hockey, Youth Hockey. He put $148 million of his own money in this program. And the program was going over $200 million we have in the program. And that was Mr. Schneider.
That's Snyder Hockey and Education is one of the most fantastic programs going, where underserved kids are taken and taught about hockey, taught about their studies. The is hockey, but they wind up getting free hockey equipment, free education. There are college graduates now. There's someone going into a master's program. They have several deals with certain colleges where they send kids, and they provide the scholarship money. Fantastic. And thousands of kids have been helped. I don't know where the kids would have been if it weren't for Ed and for Snyder Hockey. It's a wonderful program. Well, as I said, we've kept these guys longer than we had planned to. They've got things to do. So I want to thank all 3 of these Flyers organization legends for coming out. Out in the crowd, Gene Jackson. Longtime Flyers PA announcer, Lou. And not only a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, but the author of Thundermouth, Joe Watson. Before we go, join with me here and pick this up. Happy 500 to you. Happy 500 to you. Happy 500 dear champion. Happy 500 to you.
Yeah, boys. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This was awesome. Bill and I are going to continue the show for about 15 minutes, but we're going to let these guys run. And we have some other odds and ends to take care of. Thank you all for coming out to the Irish Rover today. Stick around. Come say hi to us. Follow our show. We are on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it's called now. And we'd love to have you as a subscriber to our show. It's totally free. Thank you, everybody. The young lady that won the book, can you come up and see Joe and he'll sign that for you?
Right back.
All right. So everybody else to the Irish Rover Station House. One of our sponsors is Tabs Philly Tailgates. Tabs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for over 2 years. You know them for the tailgate parties. Tabs a 3-time winner in Philly Tailgates. Jack Daniel, Great American Tailgate, Scott. It has for Philly there. This is tailgate award. Tabs corporate events and parties are training. Bob Cavanaugh property. You're actually doing graduation parties and whatnot this age, but check them out. Tabs Philly Tailgates for this one. That's sports the Philly sports teams. The place you've got nice things for Wild Eagle Red Games and beyond. That's information at freesportsgroups.com. You can also get listen to Bill Watson change stories all day. And then we're all being like, Dylan's out in the audience now with the pictures. Jake Taylor's out there as well. Hopefully, he's doing his Buffalo wings. The Phillies won. We got through our technical difficulties. Had a great show. Let's grab here something. Let's have a shirt like and before we forget, Bill, it's on Facebook. From Park to found these tapes for us out. I mean, Joe has been really nice, really hot. And then Jeanette says, Bill, we have another race. Thank you so much for being it's awesome. Joe had to say this to the Irish Rover Station. We love you, Joe. Thank you for the guys. All right. Yeah, that's here. Apologize. We do appreciate our viewers and our listeners. Zombie Ellis is here. The first time meeting Bill. Yep. He wasn't for me. I'm not for me. You're not going to just saying it's been good. It's an awesome skate. JJ talking to me. What's the Friday? Everything else. So George today, man, well. Exactly. So I get to teach everyone. Jane is here. And who's in Rockstead by Philly. He was being coy on playing player. Great show, guys. Didn't say wish I could be there, but let's hang around our life. We show up and here she is enjoying us. You're the best. Hey, Chet, I'm sort of saying, don't forget that we're part of the Philly Sports Network. They got the heads down up. The guys came out to support today. We appreciate you guys being in the race. Correct. Well, happy birthday. We're spending it with you. Just say, happy. Stop. YouTube and the Bill and Sports Network website and sign up for the newsletter for free. They will be in your email every Friday morning. That's something every day we get Philly Pressbox. Philly Sports. Now, you have a microphone? I do. So, and trading sports, it's like 4 or more shows every single day of the week.
Yeah, aiming for that 24/7. Not there yet, but getting very close, and actually in the works of making at least one 24/7 broadcast by the end of 2024. Of course, for you two involved in that, we'll get more information to go on, but a lot of new things coming up, like new shows and new people joining us, some new technology coming out. Hopefully, going to that.
Now you started a new program in the English.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Trending AM. Points no stable. Chet, you were on it. Sorry, man.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I wanted to. How are you today? Sometimes I get. I don't know how you got that. I did not do it.
So it's not easy. No, it isn't. And the guy has his own company, runs a pizza shop out in Chester County there. So he does that all day long. Plus, gets ready and does Monday through Fridays with Training in the AM. I've known Phil for some time now. Actually, we found out that we went to school together. We didn't even know. That was how I happened. He's a couple of years older than me, but he's been doing that for 4 or 5 years, I think he said now. And he's worked with another network for a while, but I figured a way out of getting him to come over and work with us because, I want to compete with the morning shows. And not that, other radio shows, we deal with a lot of these guys from the different networks. We're friends with a lot of the guys who, 97.5, WIT, and all those guys. But I have a lot of people who said they have made Edge of Philly Sports their new morning ritual. And I think that's kind of where it starts, because I feel that one thing about EOP that's made it, I think, perfect, because you guys technically are our second crew to join us. We had a flyer show that is no longer with us at this point, but you guys are definitely the long-standing in EOP lore, if you want to call it that. But no, it's the next evolutionary step for us. And of course, you guys are going to be right along for the ride. Chet and I, we've talked about a couple of different things still as well. So it's going to be quite interesting coming into the next 6 months or so.
Now, you also have developed, grown into having guys actually doing the game coverages.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
So I and Sal and Mike, as well as Matty B and Pat, have done the Vikings finals for your Phillies post-game show, the 162 game plus playoffs. When Matty B was one crazy enough to come up with that, I know, shock and all. And he came to me before the 2022 season, said, I think I want to do a post-game show for the Phillies. I'm like, every game? Are you sure you can handle it? I'm going to try my damnedest. And then about halfway through the season, he was trying to do different things, and I said, let me join him. And then I joined in, and then we started 2023 with Pat, Mike, and then Sal came in this year for 2024. It's been an amazing time. And then we also have Eagles post-game shows, Flyers post-game shows, which I'm part of as well, and Sixers post-game shows. So we're as well as we have credential writers, including myself. So, hanging out in the Philly Pressbox. The Phillies Pressbox has been fun. Flyers Pressbox as well, credential with them as well. But we brought on Al Thompson, Football Stories, who you guys have had a lot of the Football Stories guys on as well. He's our credentialed Eagles reporter as well as Sixers. So, and we have Pat and the other guys covering the Union as well as the women's lacrosse and so much more.
Yeah. It's 76 years now. For 2 nights this year for the first time. It's been amazing. Why? I don't know.
Round 2 is horrible. Wasn't it? By the way, we'll have live draft coverage this Wednesday right after Philly Pressbox Radio.
There you go. So, 600, they're not necessarily who they might draft, but just their direction in general. Do you go around Joel Embiid? Do you try to sign Paul George? Do you listen to Bill and say, Trent? Go from here.
Who's right anymore? If this was like 12 months ago, so I would tell Bill you're nuts. For many reasons, but that one was one of them. But I don't know anymore because, it's what are they doing? What are they going to do? I don't want the old guys. I really don't want the old guys.
I'm with you.
I want the complimentary guys, the guys who play the position correctly, who maybe want to prove their contract, who are going to let Maxie and Embiid be Batman and Robin and be their backups to them without having another personality call, another James Harden situation. I just don't think I'm not a big fan of bringing and I'm a Jimmy Butler fan. I just don't think Jimmy Butler is the answer. It's 4 or 5 years now removed from that situation. We made mistakes. As when I say we, the Sixers organization has made mistakes. If you want to fix one of those mistakes, go to Brooklyn, bring home Mikal Bridges. That's how you're going to fix a mistake, and that's how you're going to make this team better. In my eyes, I just can't imagine. It's just I'm kind of on the Joel Embiid ride train to the ground. If he's not the answer, if he is the answer, I don't know. But I think you're better off with him. It's just he can't be your focal point.
Yeah, I agree, but I think you do have to keep him because if you trade him, you're just not going to get fair value, and it's going to be another 5 years before you're competitive. So I say you just ride it out. It's the best with Embiid. And when we pick down for a trade, you're lucky.
You're never going to get back and you got from me. Yeah. It's like trading in the car. You're going to get 10 grand, they're going to give you 20 grand, sell for 20 grand. But it's not even that. It's who do you trade with? If you're trading for Joel Embiid, you're trading to make your team better. You're not going to give away your key pieces and then have Joel Embiid. It's just not going to happen. Right. So it's kind of have to ride that into the ground unless you want to start over again.
Right. But I think the thing you have to do is you have to design your offense so that it isn't so centered on Embiid.
100%.
And, you don't need 32 points a game. Maybe you need 22 points a game.
I don't think it's 32 points a game. I don't think it's 32 points a game, though. I think what happens is, I said this, I think it was on PM and AM for the playoffs, right when Joel Embiid was coming back for injury. I'm still in the record saying it was a bad idea letting him play at all. Even though he did survive, I think it was a bad idea. But in the long run, what did I say? I said, guys, I'm a coach playing against Joel Embiid, the Sixers. I am pressuring Joel Embiid. I am putting all the heat on him and letting him make and just stifling him. And that's what you kind of have to do. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, the one game that Maxey had a chance to step up, he did it. He did it well. You have to learn to run the offense through him. And then Joel Embiid is almost a complementary piece. But is the egos going to allow that? That's where the question.
It depends how bad you want to win.
Listen, I'm all about winning.
It depends how bad you want to win.
Yeah. I mean, that's my mentality.
Al, we didn't talk Eagles a lot today. Let's change that right now. We are about 2.5 months away from that highly anticipated Eagles Packers game in Brazil. What about the Birds right now?
A lot of question marks. But I'm still feeling excited about them. There's a lot of question marks. And listen, you lose Jason Kelsey. I don't care who you have step in for him. It's not going to be an easy transition. You have O-line with the right guard situation. They have a lot of good options, but can they be, I posted something the other day. I was 81, and I think that was Brandon Brooks' number or something like that. And I said, it's going to be hard to find another one like him. But they could. I mean, if anybody can do it, it's just them. So anybody can find somebody and make somebody fill into the gaps of these two legends of the Eagles. It's him. Offense, I'm not super worried about, except for how the play calling. The one thing, Jalen Hurts said, 5% new playbook, 95%. I think that was a jab. That was an absolute jab. You have to learn football all over again to be 92% new playbook. So I want to see what Vic Fangio can do. We have a little lack in depth on certain areas, such as on the outside with the D-backs and linebacker. I'm actually a little bit more optimistic about the linebacker core than I normally was over the last few years. We'll see how that plays out. And we got to see how Jordan Davis steps up this year. Because this is kind of making or breaking year for him.
Well, I think the defense certainly is the big question. There's enough offensive weapons that shouldn't be a problem. Jalen has to play well. I'm not big on giving people players passes, but I'm going to give, I've said this to Jalen, I'm going to give Jalen a little bit of a pass. And I'm actually going to give them all a little bit of a pass because I think their coaching situation was terrible last year. And I think by bringing in some experienced guys, I think they're going to
blame for that. Who was the coaching blame on that? Like, who was that? Was that Nick Sirianni? Was that Howie? Was that Jeff Lurie? Or was it a combination of such? Like I don't think anybody's going to bet. Hey, it was guys. I did it, but
like Michael Headman, Sirianni. He's got a single body. We're 10-1. We really that was kind of misleading. Okay, won a lot of those games. A bit luckily. There were some clear signs of concern at that point. So, I think Sirianni and Brian Johnson needed to take control and figure out why the offense wasn't cooking quite like it should have been.
But I think what we don't know now here is when they turned to hire cheap, did they hire two young, inexperienced coordinators because somebody said hire cheap? Not Nick Sirianni. Why else did Sirianni keep his job?
I think personally, I think Johnson he was already here, he was working, they wanted some sort of stability. They kind of knew that their two coaches were not going to be here for the long. And I think they figured that out. I think Brian Johnson was the guy that they're going to say, no, let him be our stability guy. Their defensive guy I don't think he was their number one pick or number two. I think he was just on their radar. But that was the best bet because, a couple guys that they had chances with or I thought would be the next heir apparent left and went to Arizona.
Right.
So I think they made a big misstep last year with the inexperience of coaching. And it doesn't show that Nick Sirianni is more of that figurehead, that Queen of England versus Parliament type situation. Because, I'm on the record, like I said, I'm not one to fire somebody right away, especially if you look at the mathematical success that Nick Sirianni has as a head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, if you're a person that, if you came down from Mars today and I said, here's his resume, you'd be like, what are you, nuts? But I'm a big believer in locker room. Bill, you've coached, I've coached, Chet. Have you coached before, I believe, a little bit?
My kids,
Yeah.
Kiwi basketball.
High school, I've gone up to, played in college, but, if you lose a locker room, that's something that's really hard to come back from. At least in college and stuff, there's a lot of turnover. But in the pros, you don't get as much turnover. I mean, Jalen Hurts, especially, he's here for the long haul, and a lot of other core pieces. If Nick Sirianni was a big problem, did they just take that because they were afraid of the instability that would come by starting from the get?
Regarding Jalen Hurts, when I was on with Phil on Trending in the AM on Friday, he asked what the biggest fears were about the various teams. And with the Eagles, I mentioned Jalen Hurts. I said, I'm wondering if, maybe Hurts was more the 2023 guy than the 2022 guy that we got to know. Maybe he's not a true MVP candidate. Maybe he's, kind of gotten a little bit, spoiled by the big contract. So, I hate to be that Philadelphia guy, but I wonder if we overvalue Jalen Hurts. Is it possible that he's not as good as we saw him? Anything's possible, but I don't believe it.
I think he's 20. I think he's between. So I think he's closer to 2022 than he is 2020.
Yeah. I think the way he goes about his business, it's a little disturbing, I guess, about Hurts is he's so reserved. You don't know really what he's thinking, but he's thinking. I think he prepares. I don't think anybody came out and said he wasn't prepared for games. He's like, I'm still on board.
Listen, there's a lot of things you really can't judge anything off the last year, especially the last half of last year. They're like, oh, he can't read the defense. He can't read the blitz. Our line being one of the top of the lines in the league couldn't handle the blitz. What happened? Where did it all go wrong? That it wasn't one guy. It wasn't two guys. It wasn't just the offense, and it wasn't just the defense. It's everything. Everything that went wrong plus. So it's hard. It's hard for me. Again, going back to the Nick Sirianni conversation, it's hard for me not to blame the head coach when everything goes wrong. You got to start from the top end.
Well, that's absolutely right. But I think the thing where they fell apart in the last 4 or 5 games, it looked like the exact same unsuccessful game plan every week.
Mm-hmm.
There was no adjustments to it. It looked like, I said that to Chet at the end of the season. They lost the games during the week. They lose the game on Sunday. They weren't prepared with their best to play on Sunday. That's why I said blame Sirianni.
And here's my thing: is the play calling, as you just mentioned, it was hard. As I said, I've coached many levels. I didn't coach college. I coached high school. I've coached championship teams. I go back to my 8-9-year-old kids and found better play calling and execution with them than I saw with the Philadelphia Eagles, especially the last half of last year.
Don't disagree. You're talking about the blitz, not handling the blitz. Well, how do you do that? You throw screens, you do swing passes, you throw them in the box, you do all that.
Throw in the middle, which we couldn't do for worth anything.
Right.
It's almost like forgot how a tight end works.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of that going on. But hey, we got a lot to talk about this year, though, because it's almost time to get that thing rolling.
You've got a lot to cover. Usually it's the dead time, this June into July. But with the Phillies being as hot as they are, with the Sixers draft being, it's not just the draft, but the Sixers all season being, this is like huge.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. This is why, I can understand why some people think trade Joel Embiid. What are the odds, your guys' odds, that the Sixers, Daryl Morey, and everybody else, I guess Elton Brand, he's not getting the guy's coffee, can sit there and make decisions enough to make this team championship worthy. We have 3 guys on the roster, guys. 3.
I've lost a lot of optimism about the 76ers. I got, so you know how I felt about Embiid and Maxine, but I lost a lot of faith in Daryl Morey. I don't even know if Elton Brand is truly involved anymore. So
him and Sam Cole haven't figured out their position yet.
It's a huge offseason for Morey and the 76ers. But you mentioned how exciting it is, though, otherwise, this being June. We got the Flyers news today that Hitchcock's apparently coming over. So
nothing concrete yet, but
yeah,
the eyes are wandering on the Twitter or X or whatever the hell you call it. And if this happens, I mean, it does definitely propel.
Oh yeah,
the Flyers. Close to it, but the question is, does this change? And this would be a great question for many other guys, but does this change Danny Briere and their philosophy and how they attack?
Yeah, I think it does. I think they want to add another piece now more immediately if they are indeed getting this up.
And by the way, just keep playing on Friday, NHL round 1 draft coverage exclusively on your resource.
We ran out of time with James, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but the concern of Mitchell and John Russell. Apparently, that is going to be an interesting get together.
I'm familiar with the background of that. Why might there be a problem?
Well, I just think because one is a young superstar and one is a taskmaster.
So you think possible personality?
I did not. Someone else mentioned that earlier today.
Gotcha.
I didn't get a chance to.
But they fear that there's a personality clash with Torts and
James Wood, yeah, you know.
If Torts said himself, he doesn't think he's going to be here as a turn that page and come force for running with an NHL. I mean, maybe that's kind of one of the things he was prepared for.
I mean, as they said, he's a generational type player. You better be able to coach him.
And it's funny, we were talking earlier, there's another guy in the draft coming up who can fit that same kind of Mitch Cobb formula, you know, Russian guy, could be number 2 overall choice in the draft, but may fall back towards the Flyers or another team because nobody wants to deal with that 2-year, 3-year wait.
Right.
So
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make the number Philadelphia, but it's just the team. The club phenomenon.
She's certainly getting a lot of attention for her talents, but now is the whole thing. Is she being kind of targeted by other players in WNBA?
I don't get it. I mean, not the kid with Hartley. I think she's one of them. What I don't get is I don't get the rest of the gals in the WNBA. I'm not sitting there saying, listen, I'm sure in all the other sports when young quote-unquote phenoms, the next big thing comes in, you go in there, you try to kind of like, let me show the young buck what it's all about. But what I don't get is the physical targeting. Like, I'm purposely going to get myself thrown out of the game, or I'm like, you guys are getting private jets now to take you to games. The WNBA makes, let me just tell you something. True fact. WNBA makes no money. It is supported by the NBA. They are. It is. If this was a private thing like we've seen with the UFL, UFSL, and XFL, and all those things, they fall apart within a year, 2, 3 seasons tops because they are ran by people who think they can compete and make some money in the sports market, and they find pretty quickly, no, that's not easy. The Alliance, the American Football Alliance, or whatever the heck it was, AFL or whatever it was. You know, that they had a cheat and steal just to finish 3/4 of the season. But these guys don't get it. And maybe they don't see that because of that reason. They're not afraid that tomorrow they're going to wake up and the NBA or the WNBA is going to fold. Like, I'm not sitting there saying to kiss her butt, but understand because of her, the phenom that she was, the eyes that she brought. You know, the NCAA women's was watched more than the men's this year. And you're like, take that and run with it. Make yourself something special. Just beat up on her. And that's my point is I don't get, like, I understand. You don't it's a little bit of an ego thing. But when you're in the WNBA and you're trying to make this thing a profitable thing, so at one point the NBA is going to say, we can't keep this up.
Right. Well, when they were playing in Atlanta the other night, and they were scheduled to play in wherever the Atlanta girls team plays, and it holds 3,500 people. They moved it to the NBA Coliseum where the Hawks play.
Mm-hmm.
So 17,500 tickets and standing room only seats.
Mm-hmm.
So get on the rock my shoulders, whatever it takes. Like money here.
That's a spot I want to get where 250 people showed up. They had to give away like 12,000 tickets on every one.
I think it's a tremendous thing for women's sports.
Yeah.
To start with.
And here's the thing is, I think in all the major sports that where you have a female-based league, the basketball is the best option. Where it translates. I mean, we've seen women's hockey in the Olympics. Baseball, so I think would be the second most. And then football, probably a lot different for that. So, this is the best translation you're gonna have. And like I said, it's a shame. It's real shame that some people can't figure it out, and they allow these egos get caught getting catty, I guess, because you're afraid that this person's going to come in and upstage you. If you get upstaged today, but you have a job 5 years from now, I'm taking upstage.
Pockets full of money that you didn't have before.
Maybe get a really good contract. I don't know what these guys are making. I don't know the numbers. I think Caitlin Clark is kind of signed pretty decent.
But in her basketball salary is only $75,000.
Yes, I know it's the scheme of things. A lot of people I work my ass off for $75,000. But if you want to be able to say, hey, listen, I want to make millions of dollars like the other guys do, and we heard a lot about this with soccer. Soccer was a big one with the women's soccer and the men's soccer. That's another one where it really does translate well. Where the women's soccer, where they were complaining that they weren't getting paid the same amount, the advertising didn't cost as much as the men's, but it's all about the numbers. It's all about who's going to pay for it. Well, if you're going to pay for it and you're going to get jets because of Caitlin Clark's there, then take that and run with it. Give them the best. It's it would be like you get that one big shot in your life. What are you going to do? Are you going to go beat up on the person and help you get the shot, or are you going to make it the best damn shot you ever had?
So, guys, are ready to wrap things up. We want to thank everybody who came out today to the Irish Rover Station House. You guys are amazing. Several dive steelers. We are Bill Thurman and Jim Chet Jessica. We do the Philly Pressbox Radio show typically every Wednesday evening. This Wednesday at 7 p.m. we have the director of fun games from the Philadelphia Phillies on with us, Jenny Glazer, joining us to tell us about all the great promotions at the ballpark this summer. Fireworks nights, trade tournament,
Great job.
whatever. Yeah, it's a fun job.
Listen, learn how to fight the Phillies game with everybody. Okay.
Done. So, you guys in charge of Edge of Philly Sports Network to a great show on that time. This guy and I, Bill, have been doing our show for 10 years now, so wrap things up, man.
What a 10 years, boys.
Thanks for everybody for coming out. We will see you Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, back on our regular spot. Thanks, everybody, and let's do. I don't know if we got another 5 minutes. Let's have more here. Right now. All right. Thank you, Mark.